When I posted my last video, I got roasted, flamed, Ned Flames, because I titled it an unnecessarily long recap when it wasn't even 20 minutes. So now I present to you the Dance Moms video. Now y'all better not tap out early, we're in this together. Also, if you haven't already, please go check out my last video. It's, linked somewhere. I hear it's a quick watch. Basically, in this video, I want to cover the entirety of Dance Moms drama, including before, during, and after the show. It's an extremely popular show, so you may know bits and pieces already here and there, but I'm going to try my best to give you, a general overview of the entire thing, especially focusing on the original Dance Moms cast. Dance Moms is an American reality TV show that originally aired on the cable channel Lifetime from 2011 to 2019. The show follows a group of moms in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as they get their daughters ready for weekly competitions leading up to Nationals, which is the most important competition, so they say. The main dance teacher in the show is a woman by the name of Abby Lee Miller. A bit of backstory on Abby: she's an only child. Her mom was both a dance teacher and a dance studio owner, so she was introduced to the world of dance very early on. Her parents owned the land that the studio was built on, and they built the building. At age 14, Abby started teaching her own competitive dance teams at her mom's studio under the name of the Abby Lee Dance Company. So to reiterate, the term Abby Lee Dance Company specifically refers to the competition teams. The Abby Lee Dance Company fell under the broader studio of the Marianne Lorraine Dance Studio, which was named after Abby's mother, and that encompassed non-competitive dance classes and voice lessons as well.
Do you sing?
A little bit. Tomorrow.
Abby eventually took over the entire studio and renamed it Rain Dance Productions. There is a lot of speculation about the relationship between Abby and her mother. Abby talked very highly of her mother on the Dance Moms show, but some people think that they had a bit of a strained relationship. Abby said that growing up, she was a lot closer to her father. Her mom spent a lot of her time involved with dance, so it was Abby's dad that, took her to everything and helped her with her activities. When Abby was in her mid-30s, her father passed away due to esophageal cancer on Father's Day. About 10 years later, the recession of 2008 hit, and in 2010, Abby filed for bankruptcy. However, around the same time, Abby was talking to her friend John Corella, and he ended up pitching the concept of a Dance Moms show to some producers. The show was originally going to focus on dance studios across the country, but the producers liked the personalities at Pittsburgh the best. So a casting call was put up in Abby's studio. The producers hired the moms they think had the right personalities, and the rest is history. I don't know what your first thoughts are when I say the words Dance Moms, but after researching for this video, the word that comes to mind for me is tragedy. To be honest, it was a hard watch from start to finish. I was vaguely aware of Dance Moms when it was airing, but I had never watched a full episode from start to finish until a couple weeks ago, which is ironic because I was literally a competitive dancer while the Dance Moms were going to dance competitions. I was nowhere near as good as the Dance Moms girls though. I ended up finding a video from a competition that I attended, and it was bad. I don't know, who are we competing against? And so I was curious. I was like, wait, what if I went to a competition that the Dance Moms were at and I was just so oblivious that I didn't even realize? I did not. I ended up going to a Next Star competition during maybe when they were doing competitions during season 1 or season 2, but we weren't at the same dance competition. I thought there were only a few dance competitions. No, babe, there are literally gobs and heaps of them. But my sister and I, we did the whole shebang. We did the costumes, the glitz, the glam, hair, makeup. Let me tell you, the false eyelashes and the makeup were my least favorite parts. Speaking of makeup, or perhaps makeup alternatives, I would love to tell you about Typology, which is the sponsor of today's video. Typology is a line of French-made skincare, but even though everything is made in France, Typology offers free US shipping on all orders over $60. After taking the diagnostic test on their website, they will suggest targeted products with only the essential ingredients that are simple, minimalist, and effective. Something that Typology introduced me to is tinted skincare, which is what I'm wearing right now. Specifically, their tinted serum, concealer, and lip oil. If you're like me and don't like the fact that makeup can be detrimental to your skin health, Typology's tinted skincare line is definitely for you. Y'all know that I barely wear makeup, if at all. I love the look of it, don't get me wrong, but I hate the heaviness of how it feels on on my face, which is not a problem at all with Typology, which is why it's perfect for me and maybe for you too. This line features hybrid products, meaning they give both the long-term benefits of skincare and the immediate visual effects. I mean, clearly you can see in the side-by-side that they add color, rejuvenation, a glowiness. Typology would love to offer you a free Orange Blossom Hydrolate with any purchase over $40. This is a limited time offer, so it's only available 1 week after this video goes live. If you want to give this tinted skincare routine a try for yourself, now would be a great time to invest. The link will be in the description for you to check out. Thank you so much to Typology for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Alright, let's introduce the gang. I'm gonna need you to lock in because there are a lot of characters at play, a lot of people that you need to keep track of. The structure of a Dance Moms video is as follows. It starts with a pyramid, and then we have the girls learning the dance for their competition, and then we have the competition itself. So basically every episode comprises a week of the dance season leading up to nationals. And obviously there are fights all along the way, drama. Now, if you've never heard of Dance Moms, you may be like, Amanda, what the fuck is a pyramid? It's Abby's ranking system for how she ranked the dancers / the moms. It reads from right to left, bottom to top, worst to best. Abby only ranks the dancers, but the dancers' ranks are also influenced by how Abby feels about the moms and whatever the behavior they displayed the prior week. Here we have my own version of a pyramid that turned more into a tier list because this does not look like a pyramid, but I'm going to introduce them based on how much I perceive Abby dislikes them. On the bottom of the pyramid, the person who I think Abby likes the least is Kathy.
She is an embarrassment to me and probably to her family as well.
She's a little quirky, a little silly. The way that she speaks reminds me of the fairy godmother from Descendants, if you know, you know. For every season that Kathy's on besides the first season, she has the role of being the rival dance studio. She's basically Abby's rival arch nemesis. She has her own studio called the Candy Apples Dance Center in Ohio, except they don't provide much competition to Abby considering Abby wins about 90% of the competitions that they both attend. Kathy has a daughter named Vivi. Kathy brought Vivi to dance with Abby and her team in season 1, but then Vivi doesn't do any dancing after that. She's known for being, you know, pretty quiet, unproblematic.
I cut my finger on my mom's wing. I hope I can still dance.
So yeah, to reiterate, season 1, Kathy and Vivi were dancing with Abby and the gang, and then every season after that, where Kathy was on the show, she was Abby's rival. The lore was that Kathy and Abby were actually friends before the show even started, and were friends off camera, at least for the earlier seasons. But their relationship quickly deteriorated as time went on. Their fake enemies turned into real enemies, I guess.
And now I want to sit back and relax and enjoy my evening. When all of a sudden, I hear this agitating, grating voice.
We, groom you.
Next, a tier up but still pretty close to the bottom is Christy. Christy is one of the more sassy moms of the group. She's not afraid to get into a tussle or speak her mind. She and Abby have never seemed to get along.
You've said it point blank, you don't like me.
I said I can't stand you.
Next, we have Kelly. Christy and Kelly are besties, partners in crime.
And then there were 2.
I know.
You know what, though?
Nobody likes us. The 2 bitches are left.
Kelly and Abby actually have some pretty extensive history. They've known each other for almost 40 years at the time that they started filming the show. Abby is a few years older than Kelly, and Kelly actually danced with Abby's mom and then started dancing with Abby right when Abby started teaching her own competitive teams. However, there seems to be some lingering resentment because there was a very minor plot line in one of the earlier seasons where Kelly stole one of Abby's potential boyfriends, but the age gap was like super severe. He was 18 and she was 12. It was really confusing. I have no idea what the fuck that was about. But yeah, I didn't even really look into that. I just remembered that detail right now. The main thing that they always bring up time and time again is that Abby feels that Kelly threw away her dance potential, and she's doing the same thing by wasting her kids' potential by not pushing them hard enough. A tier up, we have Holly. Holly is seen as the rational one. She's an educated queen. She completed her PhD during one of the earlier seasons of the show. She was also a principal. Now she seems seemingly high on the pyramid currently, although spoiler alert, some of these people, all of these people beneath her end up dropping out of the show, and that leaves Holly at the bottom. And as time goes on, Holly gets more and more irritated with Abby's behavior, so they get on more rockier terms. Finally, on top we have Melissa. Melissa and Abby seemed pretty close, especially in the beginning of the show. She worked for Abby by helping out at the front desk at the studio. Her daughter was also Abby's favorite dancer by far. But as the seasons went on, it seemed that Melissa got closer to the other moms rather than Abby and started distancing herself from Abby. The moms have frequently said that Melissa is a liar. The show has made it seem like she was caught in lies before. They also say she's known for being sneaky to get the best opportunities for her girls.
Whatever, I hurt your kids. I'm a bad person. Kill me. I'm sure you wish I would die in a car accident too.
Oh, no, Melissa.
Now, let's introduce the daughters of these women. I ordered this pyramid based on how frequently I perceived these daughters to be in these positions on the pyramid. So this is kind of like their average placements. I don't know if this is actually the case, if anyone's done any statistics on this, but this is just what the show made it seem like their rankings were. On the bottom of the pyramid, we have Nia, who's the daughter of Holly. Nia always seemed to be somewhere near the bottom of the pyramid, which irritated Holly to no end. I will say, as the seasons went on, Nia was frequently, you know, like in the middle of the pack in terms of the pyramid, but I feel like the show really made her out to be one of the worst dancers of the group, because Abby's always complaining about how Nia's technique isn't on par with the other girls. Next, we have Paige, who is the daughter of Kelly. Paige was always near the bottom, I feel like, but this seems to be more due to Abby's feelings towards her mother and how her mother's raising her.
You're skinny, you're blonde, you're pretty. You're telling me nobody at school hates you? Wake up.
Next, we have Mackenzie, who is the daughter of Melissa. She's the youngest of the group. Apparently, she wasn't even supposed to be on the show, but Melissa fought for Mackenzie to be on with her sister, who I'll introduce you to in a second. And they had to fight to get her on because of her age. You know, she's the youngest one on the group. She does a lot of cutesy acro dances and frequently gets compared to her older sister.
I love dancing, but I don't want to go on Broadway. All I want to do is just stay home and eat chips.
Next, we have Brooke, who is also Kelly's daughter and is the older sister of Paige. Like Mackenzie, Brooke also, I don't think, was supposed to be on the show because of her age. She's the oldest one of the group, but Kelly fought to have her on with her sister. Brooke specializes in like contortionist routines. She can bend her body crazy. Apparently, she was previously Abby's favorite dancer when she was growing up, but as she got older and I guess stopped trying as hard, Abby kind of pushed to the side in favor of her new star pupil. Next, we have Chloe, who is the daughter of Christy. She was characterized on the show to be number 2. Really good dancer, but always runner-up to Maddie, who is at the top of the pyramid. Maddie is Mackenzie's older sister, the daughter of Melissa. She is the blatant favorite of Abby, wins every competition she goes to, becomes a star, gets every opportunity to do so. She is the perfectionist. The pressure is always on her to be number 1. These 6 girls comprise Abby's junior elite team. What was interesting about this show was that it wasn't a collection of strangers thrown together and forced to interact. These are all women and girls with history. A lot of the girls had danced together with each other since they were as young as 2 or 3 years old. They've known Abby for at least as long as well. The mothers, you know, have known each other from being at the same studio for that amount of time. Now, I want to go through the main general drama of each season. Full disclosure, I did not watch seasons 6 through 8. My bad, guys. I'm sorry, I just truly could not stand to watch another season, especially as people started dropping like flies. But I feel like after watching seasons 1 through 5 in their entirety, I have a pretty good general understanding of how everybody's interacting with each other, the history, the relationships. The show has a lot of fans, but it has also garnered a lot of criticism. For good reason too. I mean, throwing children into the spotlight from such a young age is bad in itself because they have no consent in the matter, really. We've seen the consequences of that time and time again. So the mothers, I think, are responsible for subjecting these kids to this level of fame and this toxic environment. One of the main elements of the show, one of the main draws of the show, I would say, is the shock factor of having Abby scream at these young little girls. She was characterized as this super tough, obnoxious dance teacher. She would verbally degrade people on the daily, but in her mind, her behavior was justifiable because she produces results. She gets kids into the professional dancing world, on Broadway, backup dancers for super famous people, rockettes, you name it.
I know how to groom these children.
But I mean, that's terrible of the producers to foster this type of environment to showcase that this is the real world of dancing, when Abby's behavior should not be perpetuated as the norm. They fostered an environment where Abby was encouraged to be just a complete monster to everybody around her. They also fostered physical and verbal fights between the moms, instigated a lot of drama. And even though they tried to, shelter the girls from some of the more serious fights, they're exposed to this environment anyway. They're really in the thick of it. When the daughters started the show, a lot of them were around 8 years old, but Mackenzie was as young as 6. I can't imagine what that must have been like. It was completely normal to see tears on the dance floor.
I just cry sometimes. It's no big deal.
Abby Miller as a person is very questionable. She's also very intriguing because there are a lot of things about her, like her past, her history, a lot of the things that she's gone through, her behavior. It's a lot. She kind of reminds me, I don't know if this is like a horrible comparison, of a certain Orange Man. I mean, they say the word huge the same way.
This competition is huge. I've got huge expectations.
Even if she was playing it up for the show, partially playing a character for the show, in my mind, that still doesn't justify some of the things that she's said and done, especially to, these young girls. One of the things about reality TV is that not everything is as it seems, scripted, all that jazz. But I think when you take a group of people with, real history with each other, and especially when one of the focuses is on these, young girls, I don't think that you could say that it's harmless and that it's just reality TV, because you have these children who don't necessarily know that. And maybe a lot of the things were real for this particular show. It seems that way, but I don't know if I'm just reading too much into it. During the first season of the show, when they're introducing us to the world of dance, they wanted to make it very dramatic. If you were on this competition team, you had to eat, sleep, and breathe dance. If your grandma's dying, doesn't matter, there's a competition Saturday. If your foot's broken, walk it off, you gotta compete. Abby was notorious for taking everything to the extreme.
What if she was at Radio City Music Hall and the thing was open for the ice skating rink to come out and she did a side aerial and fell 13 stories down and died? Huh?
But on a real note, Abby was pretty sympathetic towards, deaths in the family and injuries, but there are definitely some clips that make it seem otherwise. Pretty much every episode ends with the girls competing at a competition. For each competition, Abby made this rule where they have to do new numbers. So that means it has to get from a mere concept of a routine to competition ready in a matter of 2 or 3 days. That is not typical for a dance studio. It was an element created purely for entertainment for the show, and, to make everything more stressful for everybody. Let's get into some minor drama from the first season. The main moms, like I said, are Christy, Kelly, Holly, and Melissa. But Kathy Waltazin has Abby try and teach Vivi some dances before going back to Ohio and starting her rival team. In the first episode, one of the first altercations that Abby has is with a woman named Minister Dawn, and she apparently was supposed to be a more significant part of the show, but Abby ended up calling the police on her after she came out and started yelling at Abby, and then she was never seen again to my knowledge. Nia learned how to do this dance move called the Death Drop from a drag queen named Laquifa, and that would then become Nia's signature move. Their group dance won first place at Nationals. It was titled Where Have All the Children Gone? It's one of their most well-known dances about child abduction. At the end of the season, the girls got to be in this music video. Chloe was picked to be the lead of the music video, which was a surprise to everybody because that usually would go to Maddie. In terms of the major themes of the season, Maddie being the favorite is a huge one, and that will continue for pretty much every single season that Maddie is on. The moms are constantly upset by the blatant favoritism that Abby displays, and unfortunately that tension between the moms and Melissa and Abby permeates the girls' friendships a little bit as time went on. However, for the most part, all the girls have, great relationships with each other. They refer to each other as sisters, and they all seem to get along. Melissa is very over the top about Maddie in season 1. At one point, she started crying because Maddie's talent overwhelmed her. In the second season, when Maddie didn't win a competition, Abby turned to Melissa and said that she looked too professional in comparison to the amateurs at the competition, and that's why she didn't win. Maddie and Chloe are constantly pitted against each other, but it's not just the fact that Abby favors Maddie that causes conflict, it's the fact that Abby actively tears Chloe down. There's a scene in season 3 where Chloe won against Maddie, but then Abby went to the judges of the competition and questioned their scoring, which caused the judges to take the win away from Chloe and give it to Maddie. And then when Abby was questioned about doing that, she lied and said that the judges came to her and not the other way around. This naturally caused Melissa and Christy to fight, which was always interesting to see because Christy is very confrontational and Melissa is quite the opposite. Melissa, is the bare minimum when it comes to fighting it out with the women. She drops these bombs on them and then says immediately after that she doesn't want to talk about it, as if she was not the one who brought up the topic in the first place. Kelly and Christy were painted out to have a little bit of a drinking problem. Kelly especially, it was alluded to quite a bit, which was weird because it seemed kind of random. Apparently, the mothers were encouraged to drink a little bit on the show, but the producers exaggerated their amount. In the second season, Kendall and her mother Jill join the group. Kendall comes in and is kind of right there with Chloe in terms of being, in competition to get Maddie's top spot. Jill is known for being a stereotypical dance mom with questionable fashion sense, who will do anything to get her little Kendall to the top, including regularly bribing Abby with gifts. They toe the line between being OG members and not because they came in right at the beginning of the second season. I think it can go either way. It's kind of like saying Max is an OG member of Stranger Things. Except that it's not, because Jill and Kendall weren't a part of the Abby Lee studio before they started the show. So they don't have that same history with everyone, including Abby. So to the cast, it probably feels like they're not OG, but to us viewers, it feels like they're more so OG because they've been on the show for quite some time, just one season less than the technical OG gals. But the thing is, when they started the show during the second season, pretty much immediately they left and danced with the Candy Apples for a little bit before returning back to the Abby Lee Dance Company by the end of the second season. Brooke ends up leaving the team briefly because she wants to try out cheerleading, so Abby brings in Peyton and her mom Leslie to take her place. Peyton is from Abby's studio and dances with the senior group because she's older. None of the moms like her mother Leslie because she is a little bit of an instigator, very kind of obnoxious a little bit, but nevertheless, Peyton and Leslie are the go-to replacements for whenever someone leaves, which ends up being semi-frequently, but Peyton is always kicked off whenever the person decides to return.
On top of the pyramid is Brooke.
Something that was brought up a lot in the earlier seasons was Melissa's engagement to her now husband, Greg. Melissa's introduction to the show, literally one of the first thing that she says in the first episode of season 1 was that her husband, her ex-husband, claims that dance ruined their marriage, but it's fine because her new boyfriend, soon-to-be fiance, signs the dance checks, so he knows what he's getting into. By the way, speaking of signing the checks, everybody on the show must be pretty well off because Christy at one point said that she pays Abby $16,000 a year for dance classes. Excuse me? There's also a quote from Holly saying she pays almost $100,000 in private school tuition on top of whatever she's paying to Abby. Oh my god, y'all got money. Melissa's ex-husband, aka Maddie and Mackenzie's dad, ends up showing up for 1 or 2 episodes in the first season and then is never seen or heard from again. Don't know what that's about, but actually going back to the money thing, it's good if they have it because apparently when they sign a contract to be with Abby, they can't leave the studio before the term is up because they would have to pay $100,000 to her. I think that was more so the contract with the reality show rather than the contract with Abby's studio, but Still a lot of money. Anyway, back to Melissa's engagement. The moms, probably with the encouragement of the producers, kept asking Melissa about the engagement because Melissa was wearing her engagement ring. Abby even had the girls do a group dance routine about marriage in the midst of all of this, but Melissa kept saying that she didn't want to talk about it, and that's when Christy brought up, oh hey, the reason that you don't want to talk about it is probably because he was your boss and is still married at the time that you guys got engaged, which is very scandalous. So Melissa was waiting for the divorce to be finalized before talking about it. But the moms/producers were relentless, and Melissa ended up storming out, and the next day, Greg sent Holly, Christy, and Kelly cease and desist to stop talking about Melissa's personal life. The first and second seasons were the main ones where forgetting a solo was like a mini plot point. It was something that the dancers all feared from the bottom of their heart. They, you know, simply could not forget a solo, or else they will have to face the wrath of Abby. But it's an understandable thing for them to do because they're learning new routines every single week, sometimes, you know, multiple routines every week, and if they're not accustomed to that, then of course they're gonna forget their routine. I think every one of the dancers at one point had a moment where they forgot a solo on stage and froze up like a deer in headlights. Although apparently the producers manipulated the footage at certain points to make it seem like they froze longer than they actually did. But I feel like the most impactful one and the most telling moment where one of the girls forgot their routine was when Maddie forgot her solo, because this was Abby's star pupil cracking under the pressure. In fact, when Maddie ran off the stage, Abby started crying in the audience. Seeing these kids right after one of them forgets a solo is super heartbreaking. They're all terrified, Maddie especially. Right when she gets off stage, she's freaking out and pleading, oh my god, can I please do it again? I've never done this before, Abby's gonna hate me. That's a frequent thing that the girls end up saying actually whenever they mess up, Abby's gonna hate me, and I feel like that's super telling of the way Abby manipulates their emotions. During one competition, Paige did a backflip and broke her toe in the dressing room, even though Abby told her not to, and then she couldn't dance for a month.
It's broken.
Ugh.
Yep, 4 to 6 weeks she can't dance.
No. 4 to 6 weeks?
This is random, but I feel like I should mention Kathy recruited Chloe to be in her husband's beef jerky commercial and had Chloe wear a meat suit. We see Nakaya and her mom, Kaya, aka Black Patsy. They're kind of minor people on the show. They end up coming back later on and dancing with the candy apples for a bit. There were a couple routines during a couple of the episodes where the plotline seemed to be that Abby put the girls in a compromising position in terms of making the costumes too scandalous, making the routine too scandalous. In season 1, there was a dance called Electricity that the moms didn't like because the costumes seemed very mature and there were some more mature dance moves, like Nia had to spank her butt. There's an episode that isn't even available to watch on the streaming platforms where Abby had the girls do a showgirl routine. So they had like a nude bra and booty shorts, and they had these big feathers to sort of make the illusion that they're naked, and that received several parental complaints, as one would imagine, and so this episode isn't available to watch anymore. There was also a dance where the girls had to use fake guns.
I was having a good old time shooting up the mums in the dressing room. Oh, that was like a fantasy.
I think in general, the whole idea of having a plot line be, whoa, this is too mature and inappropriate for young girls, but we're gonna do it anyway as a shock factor, is super disgusting. It feels very exploitive, especially considering that Melissa said that at least 2 of the girls, Paige and Maddie, felt uncomfortable doing the showgirl routine. And so, I mean, it's sad. The costume was not necessarily more revealing than other stuff they've worn, but it's just the idea of mimicking nudity for shock factor, and this is a group of 8-year-old girls. Their nationals dance was called The Last Text, which is another famous one of theirs. It's about texting while driving. There was an altercation between Christy and Kathy after this competition. Apparently, Kathy threw water on Christy, which led Christy to allegedly choke Kathy and like push her off the curb or something like that. By season 3, the show had gained, you know, a substantial amount of popularity. Things were really picking up, and that was evident in the fact that whenever the girls would go to competitions, now there would be like fans lining the walkway as they would come in and lining the hallway as they make their way through the competition. In the beginning of season 3, there was a strike of sorts, and the show explained it to be because Kelly had an altercation with Abby that caused her to leave the studio, and so the moms wouldn't come back to the studio without Kelly also being allowed to come back. But apparently the issue was a little bit deeper than that, and it was an issue of payment. Apparently on season 1, the mothers got paid very little, and so seasons 2 and 3, they rallied and put their foot down and said that they wouldn't come back if they didn't get a pay raise. And so I believe the payment was raised to be $1,000 per episode. I don't really know what the payment is like on most reality TV shows, but when a season has 40 episodes, that's 40 grand right there, which sounds like a lot, but at the same time, if you're being filmed like every second of every day, I don't know. I don't know what the payment should look like. There was a period after the strike where Abby wouldn't let Maddie do a solo, which is unusual because obviously she's her star pupil, and when she does solo, she wins, and Abby loves winning above all else. And so Maddie kept asking Abby politely to have a solo, and Abby ended up bringing her into a room so the two of them could have a private talk. Abby started crying, telling Maddie how much it hurt her that Maddie, sort of left Abby in the dust during this whole strike thing. She was pretty much blaming Maddie for abandoning her. There's a lot wrong with that. Her whole system of taking her grudges that she holds against the moms out on the children is completely ridiculous. But also, her whole thing of bringing Maddie into a room and then crying, telling her how much it hurt her, that you can't do that to a child. That's just not right. Abby's whole thing is that you can't baby the kids. You should treat them like adults who are responsible and independent. They're 8 years old. Actually, I don't know exactly how old she was in this scene. She might have been 9, but still, she wanted to prepare them for the real world by treating them so bad as possible, that nothing they could face in the real world would even come close to the treatment that they suffered at Abby's studio. The reality is, they are still children though, they're not adults, and you did in fact give them childhood trauma. The end doesn't justify the means, babe. As a result of the show's success, a lot of the girls wanted to pursue other careers in the entertainment industry. With the exception of Maddie, pretty much everyone wanted to do singing. Abby was known to be the manager of the girls, their entertainment manager as well as their dance teacher. So she took control of Brooke's, Mackenzie's, and Kendall's singing careers in particular. Maddie was starting to do more professional acting and dancing, and I think although Abby took credit for that, she wasn't really as hands-on with Maddie as she was with the 3 girls I mentioned. Brooke recorded her song and Abby did the music video for her. Abby did music videos for Mackenzie and Kendall as well, their stage names being Mac C and Kendall K. And at first I was like, why is it Kendall K? Her last name is Vertez, and then basic logic would have you think, oh, it's the initial for her middle name. It's not just the initial for her middle name. It's the entirety of her middle name. Kendall's middle name is the letter K. The stage name Kendall K is in fact 2/3 of her full government name. The person whose career she didn't have a say in pretty much at all was Nia's, because Holly felt that Abby was not really giving her the time of day, so she took it upon herself to seek other opportunities. This caused a major, divide in their relationship around, I want to say season 5, which we'll get into later, I guess. Yeah, so we had a lot of the girls pursuing other avenues. This season also started the whole pattern, the whole theme of a revolving door of dancers. The producers kept bringing people in all the time, again, kind of like throwing people at the wall and seeing who would stick. A lot of these people only stick around for like 1 or 2 episodes and then dip forever. People came and went like there was no tomorrow, and this was probably because Abby had a famous saying, everyone's replaceable, and that was really to emphasize that point. Except there's something kind of wrong with that, because no, at this point the show got famous because of these original personalities. It won't really work with another group of kids, as we found out over the years. But in terms of the girls' dancing technique and their expertise, of course they're replaceable. They're not the best dancers in the country. That's not why they're famous. I'll only be mentioning specific people that came in that I felt were significant, so obviously there's a lot of people that I'm not going to mention. A lot of the cast that was brought on to Dance Moms were from Abby's spin-off show called Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition. It is a reality competition show. That's exactly what it sounds like. A bunch of dancers compete against each other to see who's the best. Abby was a judge on the show. She took on, sort of the Simon Cowell role. This show was airing at the same time that Dance Moms was airing. The first person from AUDC that they brought in was Hadley and her mother Yvette. Abby called Hadley roadkill during a critique of her performance.
So I called your daughter roadkill. Get over it, lady. Let it go.
She's kind of a recurring figure on the show. She was brought on to be a part of the select team, which competed with the elite team under Abby's studio. She was also with the Candy Apples at one point. The next person they brought on during the same season was Asia and her mom Christy from AUDC. She was this fiery dancer that was pitted against Mackenzie, and so Asia was on the elite team for a significant chunk of season 3. Asia had a show of her own called Raising Asia, so that's pretty cool. All these people are from the first season of AUDC, by the way. There are 2 seasons. The final season 1 person I'm going to mention, who wasn't even a part of the Dance Mom show, but I thought I should mention anyway because she's pretty popular in her own right, is Jordan Jones. And I actually know Jordan Jones because for whatever reason, I don't know if this was during quarantine, but I started watching her and her boyfriend. They had YouTube videos together. They're Jordan, her boyfriend's name was Jordan. Anyways, another dancer that they brought on during season 3 who stayed for a very brief amount of time was Sophia. Lucia? I don't know. Her mother's name was Jackie. She is regarded to be one of the best dancers that they brought on to Dance Moms. She was nationally recognized, although Abby made fun of her high-pitched voice.
Do you mind walking through where I walked through before the lift again?
Minnie Mouse has a job. Don't blame me and pass the buck on to everybody else.
Kathy started creating team after team in an attempt to beat Abby to no avail. There was an all boys team, then just one boy, then it was a mix. It was honestly hard to keep up with and not all that interesting. The main point is that she cycles through a bunch of dancers, none of whom she trained personally, in a fruitless effort to beat Abby. Tensions really rise between Kathy and Abby though. During the season at a competition, Abby threw water at Kathy, sort of by accident, and then Kathy retaliated by whacking Abby with her purse. Jill then went and dumped water on Kathy, so Kathy dumped water back on her and whacked her with the purse. Abby started crying. It was a mess. During the after show special, Abby called Kathy's mother, who was sitting in the audience, poor and pathetic. One of the boys who danced for the Candy Apples dance team, his name is Gino. He and Maddie had a little, thing because he had a crush on her. In season 4, Abby brought Gino in to do a duet with Maddie, and she made them kiss. Before doing so, she forced Maddie to kiss her to show that it wasn't a big deal, which is crazy. Why are we forcing kisses upon children? Force kisses with children? That's simply unacceptable. Abby's dog, Broadway Baby, unfortunately passed away. Abby was a wreck afterwards. A lot of the moms, particularly Kelly, were saying how she was, being a bit over the top, but y'all, let me tell you, my dog, who is sleeping, snoring behind me, I will be out of commission. I don't want to talk about it. But Abby made an arguably questionable decision and got her dog taxidermied. There were some speculations about Abby's love life. Apparently she has a guy in California, but she also goes to the movies with the bus driver who drives them to the dance competitions.
Bus driver, we're doing eye makeup back here. Steady on the road.
Before we talk about the end of season 3, my camera is literally about to die, so I will have to be right back. In the meantime, please enjoy some Dance Moms clips that are very popular.
Applause.
Oh, that sounded really bratty. You are unemployed, hungry, dirty, sad.
Holly, why can't you just admit Abby just gave your kid a solo?
There's no one else here. Who's gonna get the empty chair? Empty chair. Do a solo.
We're back. It's been several hours. So during this season, there was an episode that was taken down, removed, because Brooke's featured dance partner in the episode, Kevin, who was actually Gino's older brother, was arrested. He was a dance instructor, and 2 minors ages 16 and 17 accused him of sexual abuse. He was arrested on 7 felony charges, including multiple accounts of sexual activity, but a plea deal was reached where they would only pursue 2 of the 7 felonies, and he only had to do 5 years of sex offender probation as opposed to 10. Normally, I believe it is 10, but somehow they got it reduced to 5. Basically, once he's off probation, he won't have to register as a sex offender. At the end of season 3, they had nationals in New Orleans. Before the competition, Christy and Leslie got into a physical altercation on the street. Drinks and punches were thrown. Christy called the police, and as a result, Abby didn't let Chloe or Peyton dance at nationals. There was a Christmas special featuring Coco Jones, and Abby gifted Mackenzie a puppy. In the next seasons, Abby had a national open call, and so there was that constant loom of everybody being replaceable. But this open call was for spots on this junior elite team, and Abby ended up bringing a bunch of different people on as a result of these open calls. Season 4 is the only season not on Disney+. I don't know why that is. Abby discovered self-tanner during this season and in the seasons beyond. Kalani joined the team with her mom, Kira. Kira's kind of all over the place, sometimes passive, sometimes confrontational. Kalani was one of Abby's favorites, so at times she sided with Abby, and at times she, got really angry. Some of the highlights, though, are that she got engaged on the show. She gave birth during the show and was arrested for fraud at one point prior to the show. Kalani's from the second season of Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition. She's known for having great technique. She's considered to be a better dancer than Maddie. I mean, she was older than Maddie at the time, still is. That's how age works. But that's why they say that Abby didn't want them competing against each other, because Abby didn't want Maddie in a position where she could lose. Mid-season, after a competition, Kelly and Abby got physical.
Most certainly did.
No, I didn't, dingbat. Listen, I said, Brooke, is your mother
Get
speaking
your
for
finger
you? Do you
out
want to
of
be
my face. Girls out the room.
Then Abby called the cops on Kelly, and Kelly was encouraged to leave by the producers.
I want to file a report.
In my face.
She has a black and gold dress on, and she has short, like a haircut that's like cool and trendy, like it's long in the front and short in the back.
Kelly was arrested for assault, I believe, but the judges dismissed. They dropped the charges as long as Kelly gets counseling and agrees to stay away from Abby for 6 months. Then later, Paige sued Abby for emotional distress, but the judge dismissed that lawsuit because there was insufficient evidence. Are we watching the same show? But these legal issues were apparently Kelly's ticket out of the Dance Moms contract, so she and the girls were able to leave the show for good. Christy felt very isolated after that, considering her and Kelly were besties. She ended up quarreling with Abby and the moms all the way until the end of the season, where she and Chloe decided to leave on a kind of sour note. There were tears. They were at their limit, but they did end up coming back for season 7 a little bit. During the season, we were introduced to a couple recurring characters. First, we have Ava and her mother, Jeanette. They were known as the Stalkers because they kept following Abby and the junior elite team around during competitions, during the open calls. Jeanette was very persistent in wanting Ava to be on the team. However, Abby was very mean to her, calling Ava a praying mantis on multiple occasions. Ultimately, they ended up working a lot for the Candy Apples. The Candy Apples were kind of merged into Jeanette's own, dance group and studio. Then we have Sarah and her mom, Christy. That's not actually how her name's pronounced. That was her nickname because I think she's pretty religious. Like Leslie, Christy is a pretty disliked mom at the Abby Lee studio, but they bring Sarah back in from time to time as a filler like Peyton used to be. The select team is created this season. Basically, it's a replacement team for the junior elite team that Abby had competing against them. It was a tool to emphasize the girls' replaceability. The girls did a Todrick Hall music video with the song Freaks Like Me that garnered a lot of internet traction. Abby's mom unfortunately passed away after a brutal battle with colon cancer.
I realized that my mom just passed away, and I'm planning a funeral now, but the show must go on.
Your mom must be real proud of you too, Abby.
My mom's dead.
Cancer is a topic the show touches upon from time to time because it's impactful for a lot of the girls.
Who passed away?
Well, my dad, when I wasn't born, but it was a long time ago. My dad, his dog Diablo died. It was just so hard for him.
Is what?
This season is also the first season that Maddie works with Sia, and now we get into the Sia saga. Sia is a singer and yet another older woman that has this weird fascination with Maddie. Sia's weird, Abby, this singer named Rachel Sage that was on the show for an episode, arguably Abby's assistant choreographer, Gianna, Maddie's makeup artist Tanya Brewer, who has a tattoo of Maddie's teeth on her arm. Sia scoped out Maddie and had her dance in the Chandelier music video, which went very viral. It really catapulted Maddie into the limelight. beyond Dance Mom. She was able to create a name for herself out there. Sia then used her in several other projects like the Elastic Heart music video with Shia LaBeouf and Sia's movie Music, which garnered a lot of criticism. Maddie in this movie portrayed an autistic character, even though Maddie initially didn't want to do it out of fear of it being tone deaf, which it was. There are a lot of people who think that Sia's relationship with Maddie is questionable. Sia became Maddie and Mackenzie's godmother. She refers to Maddie as her sister slash daughter slash best friend. She thinks of Maddie as her muse who she can't feel inspired without, and she's incredibly protective of her and her career. She has spoken out against Maddie doing certain projects, but the most concerning thing that came out of this whole thing is the info that Maddie frequently had sleepovers with Sia and they would share a bed and snuggle. By the way, at the time, Maddie was 12 and Sia was like 39, pushing 40. I used to not understand my mom's hesitancy when I was younger to have sleepovers, especially with people that I didn't know all too well. But now I do. I totally understand where that comes from. You have to be incredibly cautious when you could potentially put your child in a compromising or dangerous position. In this case, it can't just be an innocent sleepover. It really can't. That doesn't exist. There's no reason for them to have had to share the same bed. There was also a photo that was taken apparently where Sia was topless and Maddie was in the same room. So that obviously is extremely concerning. Regardless of what may or may not have happened, that information that I've just told to you alone is incriminating. Now we get into season 5, and the vibes of season 5 I feel like are fundamentally different. I feel like the vibes of the rest of the seasons are fundamentally different. One such reason for that could be because Abby opened up a studio in LA, and so she brought the whole team to LA. Except the move was anything but seamless. It was a fucking mess. They kept going back and forth between Pittsburgh and LA. Abby kept getting intimidated by the competition, by the stakes, and so she frequently ditched the team. She was displaying very erratic behavior. She was having meltdowns. She was showing up just like without any makeup, not put together, which is not, a problem, the makeup thing. It's just uncharacteristic. This was also the season that Abby brought on JoJo Siwa, who was from Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition season 2, like Kalani. She's known for, I'm sure you know JoJo, wearing crazy bows, very blinged out. She had 527 bows at one point. JoJo's mom, Jesselyn, seems to be universally regarded as the meanest mom on the show. This season, they did the famous Stomp the Yard routine. Holly started to get more confrontational this season now that there was a void when Christy and Kelly left. This was also the point where Nia's music career created a divide between them and Abby. The kids, they're growing older now, and so they started to stand up more to Abby, which she did not take well. Now that they are, becoming individuals, having their own thoughts, feels, opinions, Abby can't just walk all over them using sheer intimidation. The team felt very divided. Jill was sucking up to Abby. Melissa was sucking up to Abby. Holly, Kira, and Jesselyn were not. There was a music video incident where Abby tried to pull everyone from the music video with Matty B, if you're familiar. He was Matty B Raps, if you will. So some members ended up doing it, some members didn't. The season ended with Abby, Melissa, Jill, and Kira walking out of nationals when their group number didn't place first. Brynn and her mother Ashley officially make it on the team during season 6, I think, although they were shown in season 5. Brynn and Kalani actually come from the same studio in Arizona. I've read that Brynn was treated badly on the show, especially by Jesselyn, although I haven't seen it for myself. I'm not actually going to go into depth about anything that happened in season 6 through 8. Apologies there. I will give the major points though. In season 6, JoJo left because she had a deal with Nickelodeon, although she would be back for a brief appearance in season 8. In season 6, the girls, like I said, are growing up, so they're not going to be able to compete in the junior elite division anymore. So Abby brought on this group of minis, aka they're all around like 8 years old, the same age as the original girls were when they started the show, and I feel like the idea was to bring in a new wave of dance moms because they can't focus on the original cast forever. But that really did not go as planned, I don't think. I mean, there were several factors, but I don't think people really cared about the new girls. Maybe I shouldn't say that, I don't know, but I just think that the success of the show was dying down for a lot of reasons. And in season 6, the Zieglers decide to leave. That's a major blow to the show, I'd say. It was definitely different from the other people leaving, like Christy, Kelly, and Chloe, there was a whole ceremony, not really a ceremony, but there were like TV specials, there were special episodes, there was a whole goodbye segment. They did this dance called Boss Ladies. It's a popular dance, but it's special to me specifically because randomly, me, my neighbor, and my sister decided to learn that dance and perform it for like our parents. Going into season 7, the only original member that is still there is Nia. The rest of the members are Kendall, Kalani, and Bryn. There is also, they brought on a couple other people, but I feel like the one of note is Cameron. She came in with her mom, Camille. During the season, Nia, Kendall, Kalani, and Chloe, who ended up coming back, and Cameron also left the ALDC and started their own team called the Irreplaceables. Bryn left the show entirely, and then 2 episodes later, all the girls that I just mentioned, the Irreplaceables, left the show entirely, which means that in season 8 there is a completely new dance team. The only, familiar face is Abby. Apparently it was a mess. There was fighting among the moms, the kids, which makes sense because they did in fact throw together a group of strangers and expected them to be like a cohesive team. Then really recently, I'm talking like a month ago, Hulu came out with a show called Dance Moms, The New Era, or A New Era. It features a new coach and a new team, meaning no Abby. I think there's only 1 season out right now. I don't know if they're planning on making more. I think this series had the same issues that season 8 had. There were other Dance Mom shows as well that I had never even heard of until making this video. I didn't watch any of them, but there's Dance Moms Miami, Dance Mums with Jennifer Ellison, Dance Mums, which is a British Dance Moms, I guess, Abby's Studio Rescue, which is more of a construction angle probably, Siwa's Dance Pop Revolution, where girls compete for a spot in JoJo's music group that she called XOMG Pop, and Madhouse, which is Abby's last attempt at Dance Moms with a young adult cast. The show streamed on this random app called Brandon TV. Anyway, so that's Dance Moms. Some of you who know the lore may be like, Amanda, you've completely skipped the trials and tribulations of Abby. No, I didn't, babe. We're gonna get into it. So in seasons 5 and 6, Abby was going through some major legal troubles. What legal troubles, you may ask? In 2017, Abby went to prison for bankruptcy fraud. That is probably why she was acting so erratic in seasons 5 and 6. Remember that bankruptcy in 2010 that I was telling you about? Apparently there are strict rules that you need to adhere to when you file for bankruptcy, and one such rule, I mean, I don't know if this is particular in Abby's case, but she needed to deposit all of her funds in this specific account. She knew this, and yet she opened up other bank accounts against, whatever rules were set in place, and as a result, she was convicted for concealing assets. She says she wasn't purposefully concealing those $750,000, but who knows? She was sentenced to 366 days in federal prison, but she got out in 8 months.
Do you want kids? Because you,
Of my own?
do you want children?
No, it's too late for that. Way too late.
Well, you could adopt. You could. There's a number of
Not
things
now.
you
I'm
could do.
a felon. So.
Well,
She was sentenced to 366 days in federal prison. There was like a little mini documentary documenting her last days before she went, and it was honestly sad. I mean, the whole show is just it's such a mess. But Christy and Kelly, I think, ended up testifying against Abby, and then Abby ended up getting out in 8 months as opposed to a year and a day. Abby's LA dance studio relocated to a smaller venue, and it still exists to this day, so if you're interested, you could take classes. I would not recommend it though. Her Pittsburgh studio permanently closed in 2022 and was turned into a bus lot and daycare. Days after Abby got out of prison, she had to undergo emergency surgery to remove a cancerous tumor from her spine.
What's your expectations for today?
I hope we just have fun and I get a lot of dirty secrets about Abby.
Like?
Where does she go at night?
She's usually going to like McDonald's or something. No, that's literally where she goes.
I've only seen 2 sauces or something.
There's 4. They did not have sweet and sour.
What?
She was diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma. It left her with severe paralysis from the waist down, and she now uses a wheelchair to get around. I mean, that's crazy to go from prison immediately to cancer, immediately to paralysis. That is just Wow. But that didn't stop her from doing Dance Moms Season 8 and Madhouse. Yeah, that's the tea. If I missed anything, please feel free to talk about it in the comments. I would love to know. I want to do a little bit of a then versus now comparison. Where are all the OGs now? What have they been up to? Abby still clings onto that Dance Moms era and makes comments about the girls. The girls do not even mention the show at all, though. Some of them, they kind of want to block out that part of their life. It's a sore subject, naturally so. A lot of them feel traumatized by it. Out of all the girls, I feel like the one who speaks the most highly of Abby is JoJo Siwa.
JoJo! Have you learned nothing?
We've pretty much covered what Abby's been up to. Here's Abby. She is currently 58 years old. She's active on YouTube, still has her studio in LA. Apparently there's going to be a Madhouse Season 2. I'm not really sure why. I don't know a single person who watched Season 1. You canceled My Lady Jane, but you went ahead with Madhouse Season 2, huh? There was a Dance Moms reunion in 2024 with Brooke, Paige, Chloe, Kendall, JoJo, and Kalani, and their respective mothers, minus Christy because she was busy. The Zieglers plus Holly and Nia declined to come. I think all of the most popular cast are friendly with each other. I don't think there's any super duper bad blood. Especially among the OG moms. I know they recently posted something on Instagram. They're all together for some secret project. Who knows what that's going to be about? They haven't revealed yet. Okay, getting back to the then versus now. Vivi is 20 years old. Oddly enough, she's still dancing. I got the impression that she didn't like to dance, but I guess that's clearly not the case. Asia is 19. 19 is crazy. Oh my lord. She's done some acting here and there. She was the high school valedictorian. Congrats, queen. That's amazing. But now she seems to be focusing on her music career. Ava's 22. She starred in the Netflix movie Tall Girl. That was pretty popular back in the day. She's 6'2", I believe. Peyton is 27. She's married with a baby. Bryn is 21. It looks like she's been doing some modeling. She has a boyfriend. Kalani is 23. She just got engaged. People were a little surprised by that because it seems like she's only been dating this guy for under a year, but hey, if you know, you know, I guess. Nia is 23. She's slaying. She graduated from UCLA. I think she's doing some stuff in the political field. I've seen her, active on that front a little bit more recently. Kelly was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, unfortunately, so sending good vibes to her. Her and Christy have a podcast called Back to the Bar, and then there is a different podcast with more of the mothers called Because Mom Said So. Brooke is 26. She graduated from Ohio University. She recently got engaged as well. Paige is 23. She graduated from West Virginia University. She has a boyfriend. Kendall's 21. She's currently attending James Madison University, and she has a boyfriend as well. Chloe is 23. She just graduated from Pepperdine University. She had a long-term girlfriend, but they broke up relatively recently, within the last year. Her name is Brooklyn, and I was actually aware of their relationship because Brooklyn was involved in a very severe dog attack in which her upper lip was completely ripped off. Apparently, Christy had some concerns about Chloe being in a relationship with a woman. I don't really know the details about that. It was brought up briefly on the reunion. There also seems to be some distance between Christy and Chloe. Chloe started her own dance competition called Elevate. It was supposed to be, fostering positivity, basically the total opposite of whatever Abby was fostering, but it ended up shutting down after a year. I feel like there was a little bit of some scandal in there. I didn't look too much into it. Maybe that's a story for another time. Like I said, the cast seemed to be friendly with each other. I've noticed, I don't know if this is causation or correlation, a little bit of a political divide potentially, but maybe I'm just looking too much into it. Maddie is 21, which is crazy. I didn't know we were the same age, except, oh wait, her birthday is fast approaching, so happy early birthday to the queen. She's been going more the actress route. She's done West Side Story, The Fallout, The Book of Henry. The Book of Henry was a weird ass movie. The gist of it was there was this child genius, and he noticed that his next door neighbor, a girl, Maddie Ziegler, was being abused by her father. And so he created this whole elaborate plan to kill him, but he got a brain tumor and died. So then he, post-death, he foresaw this. He instructed his own mother to follow through with the plan to kill the father. But right before she was about to pull the trigger, she was like, wait a minute. No. I actually went to see this movie with a family friend at the time and our two younger siblings who were going on a date. They were in elementary school, so it wasn't really a date. But you could imagine our surprise when we watched that fever dream of a movie and then had to walk out of the theaters and been like, well, that was fun. Kenzie's 20. She's been on that music career grind. I saw she had like, I think it was on Hulu. She had ads for her music on Hulu. I used to see them all the time. I know she's been in some relationships. The one that comes to mind for me, her and Isaac Presley. He played a character on Stuck in the Middle, the Disney Channel show. He's known for being cringy because he brings up the more successful people he's been, you know, associated with, like Jenna Ortega, Kenzie. And he's not doing all that hot himself. Or maybe he is. I don't know what he's up to, but people are doing better. The people he's name dropping are doing better. I feel like there's a lot more drama I can delve into regarding like Kenzie, maybe Johnny Orlando, that whole thing, and just the relationships between the Dance Moms girls. But guys, my throat is killing me. I don't think I could keep talking for much longer. And finally, we have JoJo. Where do I even begin? I feel like there are two distinct eras with JoJo. We have JoJo with the Bobo, sparkly, rainbow, Claire's, marketing machine. She had every product under the sun at Target. Her song Boomerang was a bop. She had that relentless side pony that was causing a receding hairline. And then there was this transition period. She, you know, went to a baseball game. She whipped out the braids in her hair and she wasn't wearing the side pony and people were like, hey, JoJo looks pretty cool now. And then we have the current era, which is edgy, dark, but also cringy, mask lesbian vibes. She's been trying so hard to launch like an adult music career, a serious music career. She's cursing in her songs. It's a new era for her.
Oh my god, she's raspy today.
She's gyrating all over the place. I'm sure you've heard the song Karma. Karma Polish version now. We've got yesterday's, tomorrow's, today, whatever the fuck that means. It should be today is tomorrow's yesterday. She pretends to be pregnant on Snapchat. She had defended Colleen Ballinger and James Charles, people who do not deserve her defense. I mean, she's also defended Abby, so that tracks, I guess. I believe JoJo was involved in some lesbian TikTok drama back in the day. I wasn't really, you know, all that aware of what was happening. I know she was in a relationship and then I want to say she got done dirty. Like she was, I remember this specific video where she was like yelling but also maybe crying to her mom and her mom was recording her. Is that like a fever dream or did I make that up? Also, doesn't she have some weird relationship with her future children? Like she has their names tattooed, but she, you know, obviously she's not a mother yet. And then she wants to use surrogates, but also have twins. It's like kind of confusing. Very bizarre vibes. I would love it if JoJo was, you know, harmless and she wasn't, you know, supporting very questionable people like the people that I mentioned. I feel like that's the only thing that really brings her down. Other than that, I really can't blame her for living her life, can I? I mean, she has her brand now. She's rebranded. Is it respectable? Arguably no, but like, I can't blame her for having a good time. So yeah, that is a very, very general overview of stuff that happened with Dance Moms. I hope that you're a complete noob and so you didn't know any of this because that would be a lot more entertaining. If you are a Dance Moms fan, you probably knew all of this already. There was no information, but I'm just glad you stuck around to hear this. I hope you enjoyed the ride. I thank you so much for watching and I will talk to y'all not too soon though because my throat hurts. Bye.